Good day everyone. Welcome to Board Exam Smart Series. We are today discussing the ball poem written by John Berryman. I am Anjali and I am the English faculty at Orchids, the International School. The poem is exploring the experience of a young boy who loses his ball while playing. That is the main idea discussed throughout the poem. The poem reflects on the idea that while the ball was not expensive, the loss impacts the boy emotionally, teaching him a lesson about loss and acceptance. The boy realizes that such losses are part of life and no one is likely to return the ball. A very simple element or a thing like a ball is used to convey a very powerful message from the poet. Alright, he has used the element of ball, which is an everyday thing. Alright, and he has used the character of a boy who is losing the ball. Again, a very common instance in many of our lives. We might all have lost a ball. Maybe not a ball, something else also. But here the boy is reflecting on the loss. Alright, here the ball symbolizes something more than a toy for the ball. So for the boy. Okay. This poem is written in blank verse. What is blank verse? When there is no proper rhyme scheme. Okay, free verse. In this poem, John Berryman describes how a young boy learns to cope with loss. The loss of the ball symbolizes the loss of the boy's innocence. Through the poem, Berryman seems to be saying that the only way to survive losses is to accept them as a permanent truth of life. Once you lose something, okay, nothing can replace that thing. That's the main idea conveyed through the poem. There are many things. If you lose a ball, a simple thing as a ball, you always can go to a shop and buy a new ball. But do you think it will be as same as the previous ball that you lost? No. The value that the first ball had in you is always different to the second ball. The second ball will carry something different. Okay. Similarly, take out the instances from your life. For example, the childhood that you have had. Okay. The childhood days which you had, once it is lost, once you finish the childhood, enter into adolescence, you might start missing the good old days, the innocence that you held during the childhood. That is something that you can never get back. You might still have elements of it inside you, but you will not get it completely after you have lost it. Broadly, the poem can be divided into three spheres. First part, the boy is losing the ball. Second part, boy grieves over the ball. And third part, boy overcomes the loss. Here, it is not the boy who is the speaker. It is the poet himself. And the poet, what is he doing? He is overlooking the actions of the boy. He is like an omnipotent narrator over there. He is just looking the boy, he is analyzing him, he is observing him and giving us what all he is seeing. Symbolism, a very prominent device used in the poem. This is where major questions lie for the poem, the ball poem. The ball. It symbolizes childhood innocence and the joys of youth. Its loss represents the inevitable experiences of loss and disappointment that come with growing up. As I told you, once you lose something, once you lose your childhood, you will never get it back. Time never waits for everyone. That's what the saying goes. Similarly, here, when you lose childhood, you will not be able to get it back. And the loss is permanent. Act of losing. Losing the ball symbolizes broader theme of loss in life. It reflects how children experience loss in a more immediate and personal way, marking a transition towards understanding that such feelings extend beyond childhood. For a child, okay, even a small thing can be very important. The ball, even a balloon, you might have seen children playing with the balloons. when the balloon pops up, the children start crying because that is not what they expected it to be. So for them, the effect is very immediate. But it does not stop there. That instance goes beyond your childhood also. In childhood, if you have lost a balloon, in your adulthood, you will be losing something more permanent. Even the loss of people can be permanent. Okay, death is inevitable. The poet John Berryman had lost his father during his young age. So the poet may be symbolizing his loss of father or a parent during that time through this poem. Okay. Nature and environment. The setting and environment where the ball is lost symbolize the unpredictability of life. The boy's struggle to retrieve the ball mirrors the challenges we all face when dealing in loss. The setting here is near a water body. The boy loses the ball in the water body and he cannot retrieve it. So that loss is permanent. He is just looking at it and he is grieving over the loss. He cannot get it back. Acceptance. The boy's realization that the ball is gone forever symbolizes acceptance. It suggests a maturity that develops through coming to terms with loss and understanding its place in life. The final part of the poem. He understood that nothing can replace the ball and he is not going to get the lost ball. He will have to accept the fact that. And it shows that the boy has matured. Okay, so in the beginning, the boy is in the state of childhood, and then you can trace it to his adulthood. Okay, accepting the fact, attaining maturity comes in adulthood. So in that manner, the poet has beautifully displayed the poem. Coming to the key lessons, key points that you should remember while reading through the poem. Acceptance of loss. Okay, the final stage, how maturity is obtained. Poem teaches the importance of accepting loss as a natural part of life. For the boy, only a ball is lost. He is yet to lose many things in his future life. Okay, so accepting the loss is part of life. And he realizes that the ball is gone. Though it is painful, he must come to terms with it. Resilience and growth. The loss of ball reflects a moment of growth. After losing the ball, does he sit and cry for a long time? Or is there where his world ends? No, he has to overcome that loss and then start again. The boy learns to cope with disappointment, which is a crucial aspect of emotional development. Value of possessions. Poem illustrates how the value of an object often lies in its emotional significance rather than its monetary worth. If you give money, you will get another ball. But the emotional connection you had to that ball or that toy is different. The ball, though cheap, held great sentimental value for the boy. Emotional awareness. Experience helped the boy become more aware of his emotions and complexity of feelings associated with loss, highlighting the journey toward understanding and managing one's emotion. How he accepts the fact that loss is inevitable in our life is one of the key themes in the lesson. And change in the perspective of life suggests that it involves ups and downs, and part of maturity is learning to navigate these experiences with resilience and acceptance. So, if you have lost something, it is not about giving up in that loss. It is about how determined you are to navigate through that loss and grow up. Accept it and grow up. Coming to the question part. Should the boy be allowed to grieve for his ball? It is a question for the readers. Do you think it is right that the boy be allowed to grieve for the ball? If his loss is irreparable or irretrievable, then how should one handle it? What lessons can be learned? See, you have lost something and the loss is permanent. Do you think there is any point of grieving over it? Okay, should you just leave it there and then move on? It is your perspective. You can expect such questions for your long answer, 6-mark questions, open-ended questions, purely based on your understanding of the poem. Whether you tell yes or no, the answer should not just stand with that yes or no. It should give more details because it's a 6-mark question. Always look at the marks to which you are answering. Whenever you are giving a yes or no, make sure you are justifying your answer with proper evidence from the text. How did the boy really react to the loss of ball? Or was he fearful of something or someone? Can our attention be directed towards his family and other people? Are there any lessons to be learned? There are 3 parts to the question. So answer for each part is important. How did the boy really react to the ball, or was he fearful of something or someone? First is, how did he really react? Did he feel did he feel the loss? Okay, was he wonderstruck when he saw that the ball has gone? Or do you think after he lost the thing, he was immediately thinking of somebody scolding him, somebody who will be talking about the loss, how irresponsible he has become? Was he fearful of that person? What do you think? That should be the introductory part of your answer. Then, can your attention be directed towards his family and other people? Do you think a family member like the mother, the father, or somebody else who has bought the ball for the boy, will they be taking the responsibility for the loss? Or is the boy answerable for the loss? Are there any lessons to be learned? You can include the lessons of being responsible, the lessons of being coming to acceptance with the truth. Okay, the lessons that loss is inevitable in life. All these things can be included in the last part of the answer. Why does the poet say, I would not intrude on him? Why doesn't he offer him money to buy another ball? I told you, the poet is an omnipotent observer over there. So he is telling that I will not intrude the boy. I will not go and console the boy. Because right now it is just a ball. But in future, there will be some great losses that the boy will have to endure. Okay, and because of that, he will never be recovered from that also. He will always be dependent on someone to come and console him, to come and offer him some alternative. It should not be like that. The boy should be independent enough in his thoughts, and he should be able to realize how responsible he should be in a situation. How is the lost ball, the metaphor of lost child of the boy? A very repeated question. The first part of the question can also be expected as a 3-mark question. Why doesn't the poet want to intrude on the boy by offering him money? A similar question here given in a different perspective. How is the metaphor? How is the ball compared to the innocence of childhood? Losing the ball, losing the childhood, loss of childhood or innocence. How is it connected? That is what you have to write in the first part of the answer. What is the epistemology? Epistemology meaning the origin of loss in this world of possessions. From where do you start losing? From the state of infancy you start losing. Okay. How has the child learned to stand up in life? This second part is reference to the poem. First part you can start with a general saying. Okay, maybe the little things in life that you have lost. And the second part should be with in connection to the poem. That is how the boy has accepted the fact that he has lost the ball and he has come to terms with it. For more resources like this, please subscribe to our channel. I hope you have got a good idea regarding the lesson. Today we are going to discuss the poem The Tale of Custard the Dragon, written by Organ Nash. As you can see in the title itself, there is a fantasy element, that of a dragon. And Tale of Custard Dragon. Tale means a story, and Custard is the name of the dragon. We'll see how Custard the dragon is, what all experiences does he go through in the poem. In the poem, you have mainly 4 characters. Okay? Belinda, the girl, Mustard, the dog, Ink, the cat, Blink, the mouse, and Custard, the dragon. As you have seen the names of these animals, including the girl who owns them. Okay, she has kept all these animals as her pets. We have seen dogs and cats kept as pets. But mouse and dragon are not so ordinary pets. Okay, we'll see what Belinda and her pets are going to do. The Tale of Custard the Dragon by Ogden Nash is a humorous poem that tells the story of a cowardly dragon named Custard and his brave companions. A dog named Mustard, a black kitten named Ink, little grey mouse Blink, a little girl named Belinda, and the pirate. Despite his fearful nature, Custard ultimately proves his bravery when he confronts a pirate who threatens them. Basically, the idea or the story that the poem conveys is that of Belinda and her pets living in the house. Okay, Belinda living in a little white house with all these pets. The dragon is referred to as her pet dragon. You can see the irony used there. Pet dragon. Dragon is never considered to be pet. It's a wild animal, right? But still, it is considered as a pet dragon. All these pets, the dog, the cat, and the mouse, they are overconfident in their abilities, stating that they are very, very brave. Okay? While Custard, the dragon, is always silent. What he truly cares for is a really peaceful cage. Okay? He never overshows his ability. Others, they talk about how brave they are. But Custard, he shows it through his actions. He never has to prove his bravery in front of others. He just has to act. That's how he is designed. We are going to check the major element in the poem, which is humor. Okay, you don't have many humoristic poems in grade 10, but a lot of animal poems are there. How to tell wild animals, wherein you identify each of the animals using some humorous statements made by the poet. Similarly, you have some humorous elements here in this poem also. First one is the playful language that the poet incorporates. He just uses very, very simple language. There are no big words or exaggerated ideas conveyed in the poem. It's just a tale, right? Nash uses whimsical and playful language to create a light-hearted tone, making the poem amusing and engaging for the readers. As I told you, simple language, simple story is conveyed. For example, Belinda lived in a little white house, just as a story starts. Once upon a time. Right, that's a usual start of a story. Here, Belinda is living in a little white house. The simplicity and the charm of the opening line sends a light-hearted tone, just like a story is being narrated. And they all sat down in the little white house. They are all sitting down. They are all living in a little white house. Repetition of little, again showing that this is a very simple, subtle nature of the poem. Cozy imagery creates playful atmosphere. Next part of the humor comes in the irony. I told you, irony is when there are contrasting elements, opposite elements. Here, all the animals are given some or the other characteristics, including the dragon. The dragon is defined as, or termed as, the pet dragon. That itself is an irony. A dragon can never be trained as a pet. Custard the dragon had big sharp teeth and spikes on top of him and scales underneath. Despite these fearsome features typical of the dragons, Custard is characterized as a cowardly, which is ironic since one would expect a dragon to be brave. In the introductory part of the poem, you will see elements wherein Custard is only craving for a peaceful cage, whereas all the other animals are very active in nature, showing off their abilities. But Custard is portrayed as a fearful dragon over there, or a cowardly dragon. Now, Belinda was brave as a barrel full of bears. A hyperbole is used. How much of an exaggeration to show that bravery of Belinda. Her bravery is equal to that of the barrel of bears. This line is ironic because it contrasts the perceived bravery of Belinda with the reality that Custard, the dragon, is the one who ultimately acts bravely when the pirate arrives. Belinda, though she portrays the idea, or she's thought as somebody who is as brave as a barrel full of bears, she doesn't act when the time comes. It is Custard, the fearful dragon, who is acting, okay, his hideout. Characterization. The exaggerated traits of each character, especially the cowardice of Custard that juxtaposed with the overconfidence of other animals, adds to the humorous effect. I told you, already Belinda is shown she's as brave as the barrel full of bears. That is an exaggerated possibility. That itself adds to the humor. Custard described as a dragon that was afraid of everything. This characterization humorously undermines the typical notion of dragons as fearful creatures. How? Dragons are considered as fierce creatures, but here there is an exact opposite portrayal in the beginning of the poem. Or Custard the dragon is more kind in nature, more subtle in nature. Ink the kitten, Blink the mouse, and Mustard the dog, other animals, other pet animals. All three are portrayed as overly confident creatures with lines like, now the name of the little black kitten was Ink, little grey mouse, she called him Blink. See the rhyming terms? And the little yellow dog was sharp as mustard, while Custard the dragon, Mustard and Custard rhyming ones. Their names and descriptions reinforce their cocky personalities, making it funny when they turn out to be less brave than Custard. How? They show off their abilities, when the time comes, it is somebody who doesn't talk about his abilities that actually acts out. Belinda was a nice little girl. The portrayal of Belinda as a sweet but naive girl, a careless girl, adds to the humor, especially when she insists that Custard is cowardly while being portrayed as overconfident herself. Okay, again, same line. She is as brave as the barrel full of bears. Coming to the literary devices. So in the part of humor, what you mainly have to check is the contrasting nature of the characters described through the words, okay, in the lines of the poem, with that of what actually happens when an incident turns the whole poem. Literary devices. Lot of literary devices are there, including the themes of courage, friendship, and the subversion of expectations. First literary device, rhyme and rhythm. Why do you need a rhyme in a poem? It is to give a proper rhythm in the poem. When you read, you should read it in the rhythm. Nash employs a consistent and playful rhyme scheme that enhances the musical quality of the poem, making it enjoyable to read aloud. For example, the first 4 lines of the poem are given here. Belinda lived in a little white house with a little black kitten and a little grey mouse, and a little yellow dog and a little red wagon and a really, truly little pet dragon. You can see the employment of internal rhymes to give an effect for the poem. Next is the imagery. As I told you, this is containing an image of fantasy. Alright, all these animals under one roof with one girl to look them all. Okay, and maybe you can even think of it as a cartoon character, wherein some humoristic elements, some action is happening, some serious talks are happening, some twists are happening, but everything is represented in a funny manner. Vivid descriptions being the characters and their environment to the life, allowing readers to visualize the story and engage their imagination. For example, and they all sat down in the little white house with a zoomy cat and a fuzzy little mouse. This imagery helps readers visualize that the idea conveyed through the poem is more of visual in nature. You can simply, by reading the poem itself, you will get an idea, you will get a picturization of the scene. Next is the hyperbole. Hyper meaning something is more. So hyperbole meaning something that is exaggerated. Exaggeration humorously underscores Belinda's supposed bravery, contrasting with Custard's actual actions later in the poem. Belinda, as brave as the barrels, who turns out to be very coward when the situation comes. Irony, a very prominent device used in the poem, something that is in surface level it represents something, but underneath there is an opposite meaning. The pets that were considered to be very brave in the beginning, or with descriptions, with the adjectives given to those animals, those pets, were more in nature. But actually, who is the one that shows the action? It is Custard the dragon. Alliteration and assonance. Alliteration, repetition of consonant sounds in the beginning of the words, while assonance, repetition of vowel sounds. Alliteration example: Belinda was brave as barrel full of bears. B, b sound, bears. Brave, barrel, bears. B sound is repeated. Belinda also, B sound is repeated. Consonant sound has to be repeated, not the letters. Assonance: Custard the dragon had big sharp teeth and spikes on top of him and scales underneath. The vowels have to be repeated here. Simile. What is simile? It is a comparing device, literary device wherein comparison of overt nature is done. Meaning you have similar objects that is used compared using the word like or as. When the comparison is done without the usage of like or as, meaning there is no similarity between two things that is being compared, that is called metaphor. Please don't confuse simile with metaphor. Simile, always think of words like or as, whereas metaphor doesn't employ the usage of those words. Again, just because like is there, simile doesn't happen. It has to compare two elements. Only then there is simile employed. The rhetorical device is used when an overt comparison is made between two different things. Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears. You can see she was as brave as a comparison. Belinda is compared, or her courage is compared to that of the barrel full of bears. And you can see the comparison using the word as brave as. Mustard, again, as brave as a tiger in rage. Mustard the dog is compared to the tiger. So see if the comparison is made using the word like or as. Onomatopoeia. What is onomatopoeia? When there are sounds, animal sounds or any sort of sounds being written in the lines of the poem, giving us an oral imagery, A-U-R-A-L, oral imagery, then it's called onomatopoeia, used to describe a sound. Here Belinda giggled, the sound of giggling, okay, till she shook the house, and Blink said weak, the sound of a mouse, the squirky sound of the mouse, weak, which is giggling for the mouse. And Mustard growled, the dog is growling. And they all looked around. Meouch, cried Ink. Ink is the cat. What is the cat's sound? Meow. And ooh, cried Belinda. Again, a cry given by Belinda. All these are expressions of sound. So that comes under the literary device onomatopoeia, which is very clearly used in the poem. Personification, next one. Another dominant device. Why personification? Because the animals are given characters as or some attributes related to human beings. The animals are personified, giving them human-like qualities and feelings that readers can relate to, further enhancing the humor and overall message. For example, the cowardly dragon. Coward is an adjective that we use for human beings, right? Animals are usually not talked as coward person, coward one. Right. So here an adjective that is supposed to be given to a human being is employed in there of the animal. So personification. Lastly, we are moving on to the questions related to the lesson. So far we have discussed what are the elements of humor used in the poem, the literary devices used in the poem, and how you can employ them in the poem, how the poet has used it in a beautiful manner. When the pirate attacked Belinda, all of her brave friends, Ink, Blink and Mustard, ran away. Only Custard fought with the enemy. Based on your reading of the poem, write a paragraph on the topic, a friend in need is a friend indeed. So see, connecting the proverb with what happens in the poem. That's how questions can come in the long answer section. They have given you a statement or a proverb. A friend in need is a friend indeed. How come that is employed in the poem? You have all the characters, right? All the animals in the poem showing off their abilities, talking with Belinda about everything that they could do. But when the pirate enters into the house, who is the one that acts and takes care, protects all of them? It is Custard the dragon. So he is the true friend. Okay, despite showing off his abilities, he has done the need of the hour. Next, appearances are deceptive is an apt summation of the poem. The tale of Custard the dragon. Elucidate. Elucidate meaning explain. How will you explain the statement? Appearances are deceptive. How? Custard the dragon is picturized as a knave and a very subtle dragon, a passive one in nature, a kind-hearted one in nature, somebody who doesn't lash out. But when the time comes, when the pirate comes and attacks them, he gobbles him up without a second thought. Meaning he has shown his true nature over there. While all the other pets have shown they have displayed themselves as very brave. But when the time comes, it is Custard who acts right. Deceptive meaning something that can be cheated. Animals who showed themselves were not actually brave. It was Custard who was never talking about himself, never boasted about himself, that came in the time of need. Everyone believed that Custard was a coward, but when an opportunity came, he showed exemplary courage. Based on your reading of the poem, write a paragraph on the topic. Courage is of mind and not of music. How is courage related to, not music, muzzle. How is courage related to the power of mind? When a situation comes, you should act tactfully rather than physically. You can get apt examples of the same from the poem. I hope you are clear with the major ideas related to the poem. Please go through the poem once or twice, identify the elements of humor, pick out the instances which you can remember, the rhyme scheme of the poem, very important, how the story has come out, trace the story from the beginning till the end, the characters, how are each characters represented. You can expect questions related to character sketch of the characters in the poem. So please concentrate on these areas regarding the tale of Custard the dragon. Also, don't forget to check how the title is related to the poem. I hope you are clear with the ideas related to the poem. Today we are going to discuss on the poem Amanda, written by Robert Clee. Introduction of the poem. Amanda is a poem by Robert Clee that tells the story of a young girl named Amanda who feels constrained by the expectations and demands of the adults in her life. She longs for freedom and a life where she can express herself without limitations. The poem highlights her imagination, dreams, and desire for independence. Amanda is a character that you will see in day-to-day life. Maybe amongst yourself you will have Amanda, or maybe inside you have a trace of Amanda. Amanda is a girl in her teenage where you have her parents. In the poem you have only one parent. We are not sure about it, if it is the mother or the father, but usually descriptions are related to the mother figure. So, the mother is constantly nagging Amanda regarding many of the things that she has not done. She is asking Amanda if she has done the homework. She is asking Amanda not to sit in a hunched position. Keep your shoulders straight. Did you do the homework? Why have you not kept it clean? Such nagging questions which you hear in your household every day. Such similar questions are asked to Amanda. And when the mother is asking something, Amanda dreams of her independence. She wants to get away from that episode. She doesn't want to confront that idea in reality. So what does she do? She uses her imagination to escape. So each stanza of the poem is altered. First stanza, you have the mother nagging or mother questioning Amanda. Second stanza describes Amanda's imagination. Third stanza, again coming back to the reality. Fourth stanza, again Amanda's imagination. Now we are going into the key lessons related to the poem Amanda. Desire for freedom. I told you, you have a character of the mother that is constantly nagging Amanda throughout her chores in the life, while she imagines herself to be a princess trapped in the tower, or somebody who is a mermaid who is in the ocean, who is enjoying the sunlight, or even an orphan. For Amanda, even being an orphan brings more freedom than sitting inside the house and being constantly nagged by her mother. Desire for freedom. Amanda's yearning for freedom symbolizes the universal longing to break away from societal constraints and explore one's identity. Whenever her mother tells her to do something or points out that what she has not done, she escapes into her imaginary world. Escapism is seen very dominant in this poem. Individuality versus conformity. Conformity being part of the society. The poem talks about how the mother is bringing out societal expectations, or how she is ingesting such expectations on Amanda, and how Amanda tries to break out from those expectations. She doesn't want to become part of that society. Imagination and creativity. How Amanda leaves to a world of her own when the mother is talking. Amanda's fantasies represent importance of imagination and creativity in coping with one's life's challenges and expressing one's true self. Understanding childhood. A theme that many of the students just don't look upon. Understanding childhood. The role of parent. Is the role of parent only to question the actions of the child? Do they not have to understand what their child actually yearns for? The poem sheds lights on the pressures of children feeling from adults, reminding readers to be aware of the impact of those pressures on a child's emotional state. See, I told you, she even yearns to become an orphan. Why? Because she doesn't have to hear the taunts of her parents constantly coming behind her. Right? So how much the child is emotionally affected because of the treatment from the parents. Empathy and support, again related to the parental support. Need for understanding and support from family and adults is highlighted, emphasizing the importance of nurturing a child's individuality instead of imposing strict rules. Instead of strictly telling, don't do this, don't do that, you have done this wrong, you have done that wrong, instead of pointing out only the negatives, try to be more connected with the child. Try to act in a more loving manner, in a caring manner, which will be understood by the child. The child is doing such things for the first time. They will not know what are the consequences. So as a parent, it is their duty to understand the emotional support that a child requires. Themes related in Amanda. There are several themes that convey the complexities of childhood. What all a teenage girl or a person, teenage child, goes through. What all are the thought processes. It is the time when the imagination of a child is ignited. So how all a child can think, what all will they be thinking in such situations is incorporated in the poem. How they want to express themselves, and they want to free themselves from the thoughts of the parents. Conformity and individuality. I already mentioned it in the beginning, how Amanda tries to break out from the traditional methods of growing up. She desires for independence. Even we, when we were in that age, we would have desired for that independence, being self-independent, being not being always being advisable by the parents, not being put through the thoughts of the parents. We have to think for ourselves. She feels stifled by the demands placed on her by the adults, illustrating the often conflicting desires of conformity and individuality. Freedom and imagination. This is the major part of the poem. I told you, in the first part, it is the conventional method in which parents bring up their child. What all you hear in your house, that's what Amanda's mother is also constantly saying. But in the second part, soon after that, the next stanza, what it is her reply. She doesn't want to talk back. She just imagines. She just escapes from the reality and imagines herself. Her thoughts and daydreams represent her longing for freedom. This is the major thing that she desires for. The poem emphasizes the importance of imagination as a means of escape from a rigid reality, a strict reality that is set in her house. She doesn't want to be part of that. She wants to be more free, showing how creativity can be a refuge for children. Many of the young poets, they bud during their teenage because they are expressing their thoughts through imagination and creativity, writing down in the lines of a poem or a story. Isolation. Amanda experiences a sense of isolation due to her differences and the lack of understanding from those around her. She feels lonely, or she feels that people around her have not understood her in the proper manner. This theme highlights the emotional challenges faced by young individuals when they feel misunderstood or constrained. She is limited to a space. She feels in that manner. Instead of her mother constantly saying, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, maybe she could have sat with Amanda and asked, what is the problem? Even a simple sentence like that could have changed the thought process in Amanda. Parent-child relationships, another key point to be discussed regarding the poem. Poem reflects on the dynamics of relationship between children and adults, emphasizes the need for empathy, understanding and support rather than strict control and criticism. Children are also individuals. Treating them as one is the first step that a parent should do. So that is not happening in the poem Amanda. That's why Amanda doesn't want to be with her parents. Coming of age, meaning it is showing something in future. Amanda's journey grapples with the theme of growing up, portraying the struggles that come with self-discovery and the transition from childhood innocence to the complexities of adulthood. Why? How is there a childhood innocence coming up? How she imagines herself. She imagines herself as a princess trapped in the tower like the Rapunzel or the mermaid. All these are elements of fairy tales, right? She takes that innocence, childhood innocence with her, and along with that, the complexities of adulthood. A major feature of adulthood is longing for being self-independent, longing for freedom. So that is incorporated through the tales of fairy tales. Self-expression, how she wants to express herself. Importance of self-expression for children, highlighting how suppression of their true selves can lead to frustration and unhappiness. You never see Amanda talking back to her mother. Instead, she only escapes. We are only seeing her imaginary world. We are never being introduced into the words that she actually put out from her mouth. It is the mother who is the constant speaker in the poem. Amanda sits as a passive listener. Conclusion of the poem. Themes resonate with readers of all ages, reflecting universal experiences related to childhood, freedom, and quest for identity. How in childhood we were very innocent, and as we develop in the age, as we reach the teenage, how we long for freedom, and what do we actually mean to ourselves. That quest for identity also comes in the poem Amanda. Robin Klein's poem Amanda poignantly captures the inner turmoil of a young girl grappling with the constraints imposed by the adulthood, how the parents are strictly limiting the space of a child. Through Amanda's longing for freedom, poem highlights the universal struggle between individuality and societal expectations. How much she wants to be free from the societal constraints being imposed upon her. It emphasizes the significance of imagination as a means of escape and self-expression. She wants to escape, showcasing how children often feel isolated when their true selves are not understood or supported. Even when many people are there around us, we feel lonely. Why? Because we are not being understood in the proper manner. The same feeling applies to the children also. When children are there, we have to think according to their age. Here Amanda is not being understood, that's why she is feeling isolated. And ultimately, Amanda serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of nurturing creativity and individuality in children. Maybe her creativity has come from reading the books, watching the movies related to fairy tales. Okay, that's why she imagines herself. Her picture of freedom is when she is left alone. She is about to do things that she loves. That's how freedom comes to her. So, according to her age, she is only connected with such childhood stories, children's stories. And that's why the characters in her imagination are also fantastical characters. Encouraging adults to listen, empathize, and provide the freedom needed for children to grow into their authentic selves. The poem speaks to the larger theme of coming of age, illustrating the complexities of childhood and underscoring the need for understanding in parent child relationships. In doing so, Amanda resonates with everyone who has ever felt trapped by external expectations and yearned for their own voice. At some or the other point of time, we ourselves would have thought, why is my mother telling like this? Why is my father telling like this? I would like to go in this manner. Why don't they understand what I am thinking of? So such things are discussed in the poem Amanda. I hope you have understood the key lessons related to Amanda and what are the ideas to be concentrated in the poem Amanda. Think of the parent-child relationship, the longing for freedom, and how Amanda portrays herself in different characters, the Rapunzel, the mermaid, and the orphan. All these mainly pointing out to the fact that she yearns for freedom. Please look out these things in the poem Amanda and prepare well for the exam. All the best.